Welcome, folks. You're listening to the Robby Row Show. I am your host, Robby Rowland. I want to personally thank you for tuning in to today's episode with Austin Byler. Now let's hear a soundbite from Austin himself.
It doesn't matter where you get picked, and that's the thing is all I wanted was an opportunity at that point. And the year before, I was trying so hard to satisfy those around me and to satisfy that dream of being a professional baseball player. So the next year, I felt like almost all the pressure was just gone.
Listening to Clear the Mechanism. The Robby Row Show. The Robby Row Show.
Yo, it's your boy, Robby Rowland on the Robby Row Show. Hope everyone's doing well today. I have Austin Byler on the show with me. He's actually in his car. He's driving from San Francisco to Oregon. I think to Oregon, yeah. And then he goes from Oregon to Tacoma. I remember Tacoma because that was a truck that I was going to get, so it stuck out in my brain. Anyways, that doesn't matter. So Austin and I connected on Instagram. I saw what he was doing on his page. I was like, yo, this guy's dope. I love where his head's at. Got to get him on the show. So we made it happen quick, too. I think I contacted him like 2 days ago. We were already podcasting. So Austin was a 2014 ninth round draft pick by the Washington Nationals out of University of Nevada, Reno. He's got quite of an interesting story. The way I interpreted it, I know when I was looking at his baseball reference page, getting some more info about him, I was like, okay, homeboy was drafted in the top 10 rounds his junior year and chose to go back to college for his senior season, where it's, in the baseball realm, it's not an unpopular move, but definitely it left me kind of like, I would like to hear what he has to say about that. So, and then the following year, got drafted by the D-backs in the 11th round. So that was 2015, and then goes to Missoula, Montana, where I spent my first 2 years of my pro ball journey, and was an all-star, was raking, and then it kind of just his career unfolds. He goes into his expectations, what he uses for his motivation. He talks, he fires me up when we start talking spirituality, having a purpose, having a why. Like, what is, I think that's a general popular topic on the Robby Row Show, is we talk about what is your why, like what is your foundation as an athlete, as a businessman, as a like whatever it is, like what is your why? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And he goes on and elaborates on what he uses as his foundation, and it fires me up, and it's going to fire you up as well. We talk a little bit about what is the difference between college and pros, right? So I was drafted out of high school. He obviously was one of the guys that stuck in college, and opted to go back to college. That's like, to me, that's very interesting, because you hear a lot of stories about guys, get money hungry, especially after the junior year that he had, and they want to get straight to pro ball. They want to start doing it. I know for me personally, like when I was in high school, I just wanted to play baseball. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to be a ball player. And so we dive into that topic, talk a little bit about how can we instill discipline into individuals that we interact with, the dangers of being overcoached, trying to please coaches, trying to please bosses, like whatever it is that could potentially change the way that you perceive what you are doing and what you're doing well at that time, being a product of the system, right? And then last we dive into what he's currently working on right now, and it's Major League University. He told me in the show that it's not been released yet, but it's going to be a dope program that honestly I'm excited to see it come into fruition. He's got a couple partners in the business, and it's basically going to be a website that younger guys can kind of go on there and just seek advice. There's going to be a content library. He's really focused on the mental side of the game and trying to express his knowledge, and obviously with the three guys that he's partnered with, maybe two guys, now I can't remember, and how they can kind of give back to the younger generation. I want to take this time now to thank a sponsor of the show, Pocket Radar. I think a big topic on the show, obviously being a baseball-centered podcast, is the importance and the demand for velocity in today's day and age, right? I said it before, and I'm going to say it probably a million other times. Like, you can't turn on a Major League Baseball game on the TV and not see at least half the guys or more throwing 95 plus. So obviously the demand for velocity is there, and it's only going to get more and more, in my personal opinion. So something that I encourage people to do is hold yourself accountable. It's not every time you touch a ball should you be trying to throw it as hard as you can, but I think for us to have a device as Pocket Radar, affordable, little, I travel with mine in my backpack during the season, bring it out like, hey, get this bullpen real quick. I want to see where I'm at. I want to see where my breaking ball's at today. I'm trying a new grip. Will you hold this, for my flat ground even? I think it just holds us accountable and kind of gives us an idea, at what arm speed, at what percent, or even like mechanically for me, if I'm trying to do something different within my delivery, I want to see like, okay, I'm going to throw this at the same arm speed, but maybe I'm going to apply more force here or think about more tension here. What do you got on that speed? So that's my personal opinion on the importance of having, a device like Pocket Radar, which is a very affordable radar gun. I've tested it with stockers. They're pretty much right on the money. Obviously, stockers can cost you up to $1,000, maybe even more. Pocket Radar, runs you $300-400, and then with my discount code, probably save you a little bit more money. I think Robby10 at checkout on PocketRadar.com can save you 10%. I'll link that in the show notes for you guys if you are interested in that. Also, one last thing, promise last thing. I started the recording on this episode literally like right when he picks up. So Austin and I's literally like the first time we had ever spoke in person is in recording. So that's why you hear it's a little bit a different intro than typical podcasts of mine. It's literally like recording from the moment he picks up. So yeah, enjoy the realness of a one-on-one getting to know you conversation. But appreciate you guys for listening to today's episode. It's been a pleasure hosting you, and hope you all enjoy the rest of your day as well. All right, here's Austin Byler on the Robby Row Show. Well, Austin, what's good, man?
Robbie, how's it going, man? How are you?
Dude, I am well, man. I'm in Colorado, and we have like a ton of snow right now.
Man.
And I'm a Cali boy too, man. So like, I don't want to say on the air that I go into complete panic, but I'm not going to say that, if you will.
I'll be honest, bro. I've been stuck a few times in my car, so I try to stay away.
Dude, I had to get a whole new car coming out here because I had like a little guy, and then once I knew I was going to move out here, I was like, I don't want to be the guy that constantly is sliding and slipping and getting stuck and all that stuff. So I was like, I got to get an SUV.
Yep, got to come prepared, man.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. Well, hey, like I told you in the text, man, we are live. We are recording. I wanted to give the audience kind of a firsthand look because this is you and I's first interaction, right? Like, we've never spoken. We've obviously exchanged a few text messages, but like, I don't know who you are, man. Like, this is the coolest part, man, is getting to know you. Obviously, I did a little bit of research and whatnot, but dude, tell the audience like what you're doing right now. You're in your car driving. Where are you at?
Yeah, man. Well, first off, thanks for having me on the show, man. This is incredible. I've been watching your stuff on Instagram, and it's very educational and very entertaining, man. You're doing a great job, so keep that up.
Let's go.
But what I'm doing right now is
I paid you to say that.
a little bit on the side, right?
Yeah.
What I'm doing right now is I'm driving from San Francisco. I was just visiting my girlfriend for about a week, kind of doing some things for trying to settle some baseball deals down there, and I'm driving up to Klamath Falls, Oregon right now to do a baseball camp tomorrow, youth baseball, and then Sunday I'll be driving over to Tacoma, Washington. I'm going to do a 3-day peak performance camp with the University of Puget Sound. Okay. So super excited, man, and you know how it is in the early grind, man, just getting out of pro ball. You're used to this, so try and do a go somewhere, I'm like, man, I'm going to drive it instead of fly it. And we'll see how that goes. There may be some snow on the way, but hey, it'll be a good journey.
You know what's tough too about that, dude, is like, cause I'm a California boy, like I mentioned, and I did all the like, spring training was in Arizona, I drove. Spring training was in Florida, I'm driving, and all the teams that I had ever played on, were frickin' East Coast teams besides my one stint in Missoula. And it was like, man, it was a constant grind, especially when it comes to like the California gas prices. That's like, what are the gas prices there right now?
Oh man, I just filled up on the way out and it was about $3.55.
Ew.
And, it's disgusting. I cringe.
Ew.
But, hey.
I just filled up the other day, dude, in Colorado. And mind you, dude, I'm in like a nice area in Colorado as well. And it was, I think it was $2.08.
Oh my.
Dude,
I would love that. I'm from Arizona, so I was just there about a month ago, and it was about $2.30, $2.40. So
Arizona's
the extra dollar that it hurts.
Arizona's beautiful, but dude, like let's dive into your story, man. Like I said, I did a little bit of research. I don't want to say like too much from my mouth because A, it's better when it comes from you, and B, I don't want to be the guy that's wrong and on air, and then everyone freaking thinks I'm dumb. But give us the rundown, man. I mean, you don't have to be as brief as possible, but let's hear the backstory.
Yeah, man. So I'll start with kind of just going into college. I'm from Peoria, Arizona, so born and raised there. Grew up around the major league spring training complexes all my life. Played on Peoria Sports Complex and the Diamondbacks spring training fields when I was younger. So I had a good feel of what kind of a little bit of what I thought pro ball looked like coming in my youth ages. And when I was in high school, I was a really good player. I was just very overlooked. So I didn't have any offers for the most part. I had a couple of junior college offers my senior season of high school. And from then, man, I ended up signing with the University of Nevada, Reno after the season ended, after my high school season ended. So I was a late signee. So if there's any youth baseball guys out there who haven't signed and you're a senior, man, don't be afraid. It's not the end of the world.
Especially when those guys are getting drafted out of high school. I mean, a lot of those guys are signing out of high school now too, which opens up a ton of spots. I kind of say the same thing too, is like, don't panic, right? And don't do anything like forcefully, I guess, in that situation. Yeah.
Everybody has the right situation for them, and if you stay patient with it and continue to work hard, you're going to find that. So thankfully, I found the University of Nevada, Reno, and for I don't even know if you know the difference between Reno and Vegas, but a lot of people don't,
dude, that's the spot.
It's incredible. Man, it's the greatest place in the world. So I thought I was going to Vegas. I'm like, man, I'm 3 hours from home. Like, let's go. And then Coach Phaetonhauer at the time was like, Reno is about 12 hours away from a drive. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let's see what it is. So I go on my visit, signed there. I loved it. Played there for 4 years. So my first 3 years all went pretty well. The first 2 were under Coach Gary Powers. So he was there for over 30 years.
Yeah.
Great coach. Definitely a little more old school, man. It was discipline. Like, you better be there. You better be on time. Like, it's early weights. It's discipline. And it was almost like an Army culture. So he really instilled discipline in me early. And then my last 2 years, I had Coach Jay Johnson, who's now at the University of Arizona. And that guy is the most incredible people person I've ever met in my life. And there's no secret to the success. Like, you see what he does, and it's incredible. So seeing 2 different really successful head coaches with different aspects and different thought processes was really cool for me. So my junior year, I was drafted by the Washington Nationals in the 9th round, and I decided to go back to school. And at the time, it was basically the toughest decision I've ever had to make, because I've always had these aspirations and dreams to play Major League Baseball, and that was the only goal that I really had, and I wanted to do that so badly. And I'm getting the opportunity with a pretty good price and a pretty good round slot, and I'm going back to school.
Yeah.
So it came down to commitment that I made when I signed out of high school to say, hey, like, I want to play 4 years here, and if we have the opportunity to win a championship, like, I'm not going away. And we had a great senior class. I think 6 of us were drafted that senior year, and we won the championship, the Mountain West Championship regular season, and kind of got snubbed in the playoffs. That's a different story. I won't get into that.
That's another podcast.
But basically, after the season, I was drafted by the Arizona Diamondbacks, and in the 11th round. And so being drafted by the Diamondbacks, that was my hometown team growing up. That was amazing. Like, I was jumping up and down. I remember it was 9:45 in the morning. I remember the exact time, man. I'm walking down the stairs with a whole thing of laundry. And my dad goes,
"Who does their own laundry?"
You got drafted by the Red Sox. I go, "The Red Sox? What do you mean?" And he goes, "Wait, the Diamondbacks, let's go." So we had this big party, man, and it was a celebration, man, just celebrating the success that was ultimately coming from what my parents have given me throughout my entire life, man, really supporting me and being able to spend that moment with family was, yeah, I'll never take that back. You can't make it up. And went in to play pro ball, man, about 3.5 years. Went from Missoula. So that's pretty cool that you played there as well. I love that place. Amazing. And then got up to high A with Visalia, the Rawhide, in the California League. So I was there for the last year and a half. Got released this last spring. Went and tried out Indy Ball in Schaumburg, Illinois for about a month. Got released there, and I was done, man. I had a different calling and really had a different passion that I wanted to pursue.
Dude, I have like some personal questions. So in 2018, you went to the Frontier League, Schaumburg. Yes. So would we have played against each other? What month were you there?
I was there from, early spring training deal to end of May. May 25th is when I got released.
Oh, dude. So if you were there in the beginning of the year, I mean, I have that memory loss pitcher problem thing going on, but but we would have played against each other. Jeez. We would have, I mean, you guys played us, right? Like, we were Southern Illinois. We were like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. We were the spot, dude. Like, everyone loves coming here or there.
Yeah. No, we played you guys a lot, actually. I think probably 2 series maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ironic.
When it comes to that stuff. Like, it's funny, dude, like doing these podcasts now is like, there's a lot of people that I actually spark up a conversation with and ask, like, hey, you have any interest in coming on the show or whatnot? And then it comes out later like, yo, we played against each other for like this many years, or, we played with each other in this organization. Yeah. It's funny how baseball works, right? Like, it's such a small world in the baseball space.
Oh, you're so interconnected, man. The relationships that you build and friendships are undeniable, man. It's incredible.
Oh, that's the best part of the game, dude. That's what like everyone says too, and I'm sure you can attest to this, man. Is like, I've been released twice, and I think the hardest part of that is like knowing that next day that you're not going to be in the clubhouse with your boys.
Oh my gosh, you go in, you're so excited, like for the day, you're pumped. You've been working on whatever it is that whole week, that month, whatever, and the next thing you know, your dream is somewhat cut short, and it flashes before you, and you're no longer with the people who you were grinding with to get to that dream. And a lot of them are not living in the same area you are from. Like, yeah. Like Florida, New York, like, it's the 4 corners of the world, man. Yeah. You got Japan, and you have friends in the Dominican and Venezuela and Puerto Rico, man. It's amazing the amount of friendships and bonds you can build through baseball. And
it's crazy too, right? Because like you have that notion in the back of your mind that's like, I'm boys with these guys, and I go to frickin' war with these guys every single night. And when you like, when that situation happens, and like you or either one of your really good friends on the team gets like released, then you have that idea like, I might never see this dude again, and I just spent my last 3 years grinding with this dude. It's an unreal feeling.
Absolutely, man. Definitely.
Dude, so I want to dive into like I want to hear your comments as far as, because I know from like the listeners listening, they heard that your reaction that when you got drafted, it was 2015 when you got drafted by Diamondbacks, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're hearing that you're like excited, when in reality, I think maybe some people would perceive that as like, I went 2 rounds later than the previous year. So can you like dive into that, dude? Like, what was going through your head? Like, obviously after your senior season, I'm sure you still had the goal of, Major League Baseball, and you knew it was attainable just because you had been drafted in top 10 rounds is huge. And then going into your senior season, like, what are those expectations? And then where's your mindset at when, you do get drafted 2 rounds later?
Yeah, man. So one thing I'll tell you is the expectations were extremely high. Going back to school, I was ranked, I don't know even by who, I think it was Baseball America, but as the number 1 like college senior. And and I didn't think anything of it. But everybody in the community was like, oh, we're going to be great. Like, we have this squad around us. Like, we had an amazing pitching staff in our lineup, 1 through 9, man. Everybody hit over 300 except for maybe one guy, 1 or 2. I don't even know. I think the whole lineup was hitting over 300 at one point. And we were raking, man. Like, I didn't even lead the team in home runs, which is incredible. I had 14. Another guy had 17.
Where's your pitching at?
Fact that I know, like, dude, we just got tired out, man. And the crazy thing is like 4 or 5 of the guys on that staff either got drafted that year or drafted down the road and are doing very well in professional baseball. And our overall team chemistry was incredible. And I think in a team environment or maybe a community that lacked the mental side of the game, from the top down, it would have affected us. But the leadership that we had on that team as players and from the coaching staff was incredible. Like, we did not think about any of the expectation part. We thought about, hey, each day is a new day to get better. And my favorite saying from Coach Johnson is 1% better every day. And he gives this little he's really outgoing with his hands, you know, when you're talking. So he's giving you your hands, his hands flying at you, and you're just like, whoa, man, I'm all in it. And you start to just laugh. But it's true. If you get 1% better each day, like, where are we going to be in 10 days, 20 days, 3 months from now, in the end of the season? And we were so well disciplined from the mental side of the game, in my standpoint. And I think that allowed us to really have good leadership on the team and go in there and not think about the expectations, not think about the draft and all of that, but to really just go after the common goal of winning the championship. And having the opportunity to get drafted is awesome, but going through that process the year before helped me come to terms with, hey, I may not get drafted in the top 10 rounds because of, one, I'm a senior. They can sign me in the 6th, 7th, 8th round for $1,000 and save money, or I can try and wait it out till the 10th round, after the 10th round, when I can maybe get $20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
Right.
And hey, it's okay if you it doesn't matter where you get picked. And that's the thing, is all I wanted was an opportunity at that point. And the year before, I was trying so hard to satisfy those around me and to satisfy that dream of being a professional baseball player. So the next year, I felt like almost all the pressure was just gone. And it's weird because you would almost think the pressure would be amplified. Yeah. But in reality, I was just really focused on that goal as a team and to just have fun, because you never know when your last game could be.
Yeah, no doubt. That's good stuff, man. I mean, that's the inside part of the game, right? Like, that's the politics. Like, a lot of people don't really understand as far as the politics of the draft. It was like completely different. I got drafted when it was the old draft. I got drafted in 2010, and that was when it was like, you know, the whole slot thing was skewed. Like, you could, you know, get drafted anywhere and you hold out and blah blah blah, and they changed it like a year or two after that. But dude, I want to talk about like your like motivation, because I mean, the way I perceive, and I'm sure the way a lot of people perceive, like, top 10 rounders are like guys, right? Like guys that have been guys all the way through high school. I know you had mentioned that you were a good high school ball player, but maybe potentially like overlooked. Like, was that something that was constantly fueling like your motivation throughout your college career and so forth?
Yes, Robbie, I'll tell you one story. And I was running my sophomore year of high school. I was not overweight, but I didn't have the best diet. I was eating donuts after workouts, 44-ounce Dr. Pepper.
Is that not good?
It wasn't good. Yeah, I thought I was fueling myself, man. I see your massive cheat day meals now. I'm like, man, I remember when I was eating that almost every day.
I was the same way, bro.
Oh, I respect it. So I was, I just didn't take care of my body at that point, and I was trying to make a change in my life my sophomore year. So I was just running, trying to lose a little weight. And this guy, he was on the football team. He was an offensive lineman. I still remember his name, Dylan, and he has no idea who I am, which is the craziest part. And he rolls down his window in his truck and he goes, "Why are you even running? You'll never be anything good." And it, for some reason, to this day, it was always in the back of my mind and still is. Like, if I ever have a self-doubt or any thoughts that give me that self-doubt, I think about that. And it fuels me again to be like, hey, like, I've really worked hard. Like, it doesn't matter what you say about me, but look, I know who I am. I'm working my butt off to get to where I want to be. And I think my motivation now in life is almost triple as what it was when I was playing, which is weird to say, but I've come to terms with who I am, and I finally have a foundation. And what I mean by a foundation is spiritual foundation. I know who my creator is. That's just kind of what I believe. That's my personal beliefs, and whatever somebody wants to believe, that's fine. Like, I don't care what your spirituality is, but I love it, bro. But I truly believe that at the rock of every successful person, and not just successful money-wise, and successful in happiness, is some sort of spirituality. So if it's Buddhism or Judaism, I don't care what you believe in, but you got to believe in something, man. So once I found that about a year ago and started to work on my personal development, I've realized that I have a lot to give to all of these kids, man, and really hope and change one person's outlook on their life and realize how powerful they can become.
Dude, I love it, man. I've been like very open about my faith as well. Obviously, it's not like one of the major popular topics of 2019, man, but like, I think that's the beauty of it too, right? Like, countercultural. But yes. I can attest to that, man. I said it multiple times in my show, is like, you know, when I was drafted, like I had no faith. I didn't really have a foundation. My foundation was in the game of baseball. And then once I started seeing failure and I started going through, like, you know how it is, man, those grind periods of like, yo, I've had, 26 at bats in a row and I haven't freaking left the infield, or I've had 4 outings in a row and I haven't freaking missed a barrel. You go through those stretches, and then all of a sudden what starts happening is the foundation that you've established within the game of baseball obviously is built on a weak foundation, because the game of baseball is always a roller coaster ride. Obviously, for the guys like the Trouts and, the Kershaws or whatever, you're going to be pretty consistent. But, in the minor leagues, like, you're going to go through your briefs, or not even just brief, but like moments of failure. And for me at that time in my young career, like, I didn't have anything as far as like a spirituality. And as soon as I came to faith in 2015, man, like, I don't know, I don't want to sit here and say it was a direct correlation to success in the game of baseball, but it just took that freaking yoke upon my shoulder off, dude. And it was like, I was free. I mean, I definitely know that you could probably attest to that in your day, or what you're doing right now.
Absolutely, man. There was a chaplain in Gateway, the Gateway Grizzlies, actually, and he said, you had a name before the game. And it's rung in my head, man. It still rings in my head, because that's when I was really starting to work on it. And that was probably 8 months ago. And it's still sticking with me because it's so true, man. Your identity, so many times we want to place who we are and say who we are depending on how we did in the game. So if I went 0 for 4, I'm an 0 for 4 teammate at home, like, to my girlfriend, to my friends outside. Like, I'm a negative Nancy. I'm pouting, and why should it be like that? If I want to be a motivational guy and be a good teammate, why would I pout and let 0 for 4, 0 for 5, or a week or 2 weeks of not getting any hits really affect me? And once I realized, man, if you had a name before the game, like, this game does not define who you are. You define who you are, and you can change your life at any moment if you're willing to work for it.
Dude, no doubt, man. The game is just a gift that you've been blessed with. It's not who you are. It's not your identity. I love that stuff, man. I want to go back. We'll go back a little bit, because I want to talk something. I don't really think I've talked about it too much on my show, but college baseball versus professional baseball. You've done both. Obviously 4 years in college, and then I think you said three and some change in pro ball. Like, what are the things that you noticed, for the listeners who are probably maybe even thinking, like, do I go to college? Do I sign? Like, what is your advice to those guys, knowing that, you've done both?
Yeah, my complete honest advice is go to college. Unless you're a first round, second round talent that is very, very predictable that you're going to be in the big leagues, go to college, because that's the time you'll never get back. It's the most amazing time of your life, and I loved and cherished that time, man. The team camaraderie is like nothing else. You're going in with a group of freshmen, and for my instance, there was 11 of us, and 8 of us lasted the entire time, and 6 got drafted their senior year. So just because you waited a few extra years doesn't mean you're not going to get drafted. A lot of people need that extra 2, 3, 4 years to develop as a person and as a player, because college is going to teach you discipline. It's going to teach you the rings of pro ball, because once you go to pro ball, man, honestly, the last couple of years I've been thinking in my head, like, how do kids go out of high school to pro ball? Because it's almost like this whole new world. You're there from spring training on. You're not getting paid very much. You're alone. You're away from family for the most part. And then you got to go to instructs after the season ends. So putting things into perspective, you're there early February to end of October, and you've got a few months that you just go and do nothing, like 4 or 5 months of nothing. So how do you fill your time? How do you fill your void? And I think college is an awesome opportunity for individuals to grow, to find new connections, network with people, learn from great coaches, and to create this team atmosphere. Because honestly, there's I'm not going to say there's no team in pro ball, but there's nothing like a team in college. Like that camaraderie and the work ethic that you build working together, grinding through that fall ball schedule that is not easy to do, getting to the springtime where you're facing adversity, going on the road together, and you're with each other all the time. That's your family. And in pro ball, there's guys coming in all the time, man. You may start with 25 on your team, and you might be one of the only 5 guys left at the end of the year from that starting 25. You may be the only guy left. And something that it really taught me was the relationships that you're going to build in college are so viable viable for your future.
Yeah.
And I loved it, man. I love college. Pro ball was awesome. It's a grind. It's not easy. So that's why I would recommend going to college, getting your feet wet, learning that discipline, learning a strict schedule, having to manage school with your baseball and time management skills, which will allow you to hopefully be a little more mature when you get to that professional level and help you not skyrocket through the system, but accelerate your growth process.
Dude, that's so funny. Like, I'm glad we touched on that, because I love the dynamic between you and I right now, because I was a high school kid, like I did get drafted out of high school. Like, I know you mentioned first and second. You didn't mention third, so I guess I did it wrong, but I'm just kidding. No, but that's so true, man. I don't think a lot of people realize what you said about in pro ball, guys going in and out, and it's nothing to do with the individuals. It's not like you have bad teammates. It's just that the organization molds you into a type of player that, is constantly having to worry about himself. And, like, I need to advance. I need to move up. I need to get promoted. What can I do today to get promoted? And the whole idea that you talked about in college about, the winning, that importance of the actual W at the end of the day, I think takes a back seat to overall individual growth, because it's tough to have both, right? Like, it's tough to be a guy in pro ball, really working on his craft and his skills, but at the same time, like, going out there for his guys every single night. It's because you have this selfish mentality almost being built. And again, like, no disrespect to the guys, but it's like that mold that pro ball kind of demands out of you. Compared to like college. It's funny, man. I get asked like a lot of times, hey, if you could do it all over again, would you go to college? And it's a tough one, because when you talk about, you start learning about identity, you start learning about yourself. I had to do that on the fly, right? Like in pro ball. And sometimes I think, like, if I were to do that in college, maybe it would be better. But at the end of the day, like, who knows, right? Like, you can't live in constant regret. But I'm glad you touched on that. That's an important topic, I think, for individuals to hear about college and pros. It's something that is often avoided. Whether what is the difference, and most people will say like they're 2 different games. I really can't speak to that, so I appreciate you doing that. But so I want to dive in, dude. I know you're a passionate guy when it comes to this stuff. You mentioned earlier in the show discipline. And you said that you instilled discipline from obviously your parents being a supporting cast and the people around you, and you had the desire for the game. What is your opinion on how we, as motivators or motivational speakers, instructors, coaches, how can we instill that discipline or that desire for the game of baseball into like the younger generations?
I think there's a couple things, man. First off, being honest and vulnerable. So when you see the vulnerability and you're honest with the guys you're working with the kids you're coaching, or whoever you come across and have a conversation with, even if it's just a DM from a fan or a kid who needs some help, man, And the fact of the matter is people need help in this world, especially in this game, because it can beat you down really quickly if you don't know who you are. So when you have somebody you can turn to, like, for instance, you or I or a lot of the guys in this industry who are really trying to give back and help other players, I think that's big because you got someone in your corner that can give you confidence. So something I like to do, at least when I work with athletes, is to build their confidence. One, constant self-affirmations of why you are good and why you play the game, because you need to develop a why. And I had my why for a while, and then I lost my why when I was playing. And what do you know when you lose your why? All of a sudden the stats and the results aspect of the game start to drop. So if you don't have a purpose behind your action, nothing's going to happen. And something I really like to do is just build up that confidence in my guys, man, and tell them you're good. Like I tell them you're a beast, dude. There's this kid I work with or was working with when I was in Reno, and I love the guy because he reminds me a lot of myself, Brian Baker. And he's this big right-handed hitter, man, but he's a big dude, and he's a hard worker, a grinder. And I love those guys because he asks questions and he gets after it. But one thing I like to tell him, man, is the confidence aspect. Like, believe you're good. It's one thing to work hard and go to the gym 6 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever it is, and you're at travel ball or practice or high school, whatever you're doing, you're working hard. So now believe in what you're doing at practice. Believe in the preparation that you're taking to build yourself up, because you're doing something that not everybody else is. Like, take those little victories. Don't just think, okay, I got to go 3 for 3 for mom and dad to like me, for grandma to give me $50 at Christmas, and for my coach to put me in the 3-hole next day, you know? We don't need to think that way, man. If we think about, hey, simplify the game. One, as a hitter, so in my aspects, one, did I swing at a good pitch? Okay, because if I didn't swing at a good pitch, I'm probably not going to get a hit, because you pitchers are disgusting, and as you get higher, you guys get better. Okay, and the ball's moving more, and it's going harder, and it's not as easy to hit. So when you're going through that, let's simplify the game. And let's not think about all these mechanical deals. Let's think about our thoughts. One, did we swing at a good pitch? And two, was I on time? So those two simple thought processes of swinging at my pitch, a good pitch to hit, and two, was I on time, are two easy tasks that you can ask yourself, whether you went 0 for 4, 5 for 5, or you're on this hot streak. It doesn't matter how your performance is. If you can ask yourself those and evaluate after each at-bat and then flush it, it's not easy to do. Like that's, I'm not trying to make it sound like it's super simple, but if we can get to that simplified thought process of, hey, let me just stick with what I can control. So I can control if I swung at a good pitch, usually, and I can control if I was on time. For the most part, the only thing that's going to try and throw me off is the pitcher. So if my rhythm's good, I'm going to be on time more times than not, as long as I'm prepared. So sticking with those little confidence boosters, man, I feel like are so important to instilling like faith and confidence in the guys that we work with, because we're building champions. And if you can be the greatest athlete, in my opinion, you could be amazing, but if you're not in the right situation, mentally, physically, or just on the field in the right spot, you're not going to perform at your best. So that's something that I like to say, man, just the self-affirmations, confidence building, and helping athletes believe in themselves, believe that they are good enough to win.
Yeah, you know what, dude? Like, it's so true, though. I mean, I don't perceive you as, when you say that, as like, oh, yeah, real nice, like you're a professional hitter, like the game's just easy. Like, obviously, we all know the game is difficult, right? But at the end of the day, like, you have the ability in your mind to incorporate simplicity, like ideas into your approach. And I know, again, it's easy said than done, right? But I think that's like the way everyone should approach the game. And what's tough, dude, and we can dive into this too. Before we do, I want to make sure, like, I elaborate that I don't mean any disrespect when I'm going to say what I'm going to say, but like, I think there is a fine line when it comes to, I mean, you've been in pro ball, you know, a lot of those coaches, instructors, coordinators, rovers, all of those guys, like, they mean well, right? And they really do want the best for you, but they are very hands-on, you know, especially if you're a young guy, if you're new to the organization. There's a lot of things that they want to instill in you, whether it be a mechanical thing, whether it be a weight room routine. But a lot of the times, it does get, and I'm speaking from personal experience, it gets to a point where you start perceiving the game differently because of the external factors like weighing in on you. I mean, was that ever anything that you approached going into pro ball?
I feel like you're literally speaking to me because this is exactly what happened to me. Okay?
So, same here, dude.
It's like I went in there, and my first year in pro ball, 2015, I was in Missoula, Montana, and obviously a great hitters league. But I performed very well. There was no slacking off from college to then. I actually had a great year. After playoffs,
295, 15 dingers, right?
Yeah, and I ended up hitting 3 in the playoffs. So Goldie had 18 homers as the record there, and I tied it, like, if you count playoffs, which is incredible. Crap. Like, that's an amazing year. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm fast tracking, man. I'm going up right away. So what did I do in that season? Let's look at if I'm thinking of the stats in my head.
Yeah.
I only struck out maybe 20 more times than I walked. I think it was like, I don't really know, 60-something. But I led the league in walks. So I led the league in walks, home runs, and I was up there with the average, on base, all of the good categories, RBIs. But what does that mean? You're disciplined. Did you swing at your pitch more often than not? And I did. So then the next season, actually in instructs, I was still having a great season, like a great instructs. And one of the coordinators came up to me, and he was a highly respected coordinator in the organization. So I thought I need to listen to everything he says. And he kept telling me to swing at the inside fastball. If you can't hit the inside fastball, you're not going to hit the ball. You can't hit in the big leagues. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get really good at hitting this pitch. Well, my body, I'm a big dude, 6'3", lanky. Like, I can't hit inside fastballs. Let's just be real. If you throw it on the inside corner, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to put that ball in play hard because it's not my pitch to hit. But if you leave it on the middle third, maybe the 2/3 of the other side of the plate, I'm going to freaking hammer it.
Yeah.
So if I can swing at that pitch as many times as I can, I'm going to be successful. But what I started doing is I was a product of the system, man, and I started to believe in and think that I needed to do everything that they told me to become a big leaguer. When in reality, why would I change what's working for me already? And that really opened my eyes, and I'm happy you said something about this because it sparked that memory.
Well, you know what it is, dude. Sorry for interrupting you, man, but like, I think I'm going to throw out a number. Like, this happens to maybe 70% of young kids that go into an organization, and I think at the same time, like, it is life experience, it is career experience, and I think everyone does need to go through that to find out more about themselves, but. At the end of the day, like, every individual besides the select few that are already on that fast track once they get drafted or signed, from overseas or whatever, but we all want to please coaches. And I think that's something that was ingrained in us from a young age, right? Like when we were the best on our teams in Little League or whatever it was, we were constantly wanting to set that, that role model type notion. And we always wanted the coaches to like us. And those aren't bad things. But once we get into pro ball, and again, like, I want to go back and say that I don't mean disrespect. Every coach that works with you throughout the course of the season really wants the best for you in your career. But at the same time, like you had mentioned, man, there's that fine line of sometimes maybe going in one ear, out the other. Not being disrespectful, but being respectful and just understanding who you are, what makes you successful, and then, sticking to that and then growing out of that, like not losing sight on what got you there.
Yes, absolutely, man. That's so real. Don't lose sight of what got you there in the first place. Always remember why you're playing.
No doubt, dude. So, dude, I want to go in because I don't know anything about this part of you, but dude, what is Major League University? Seriously, like, I have no idea. I went to the website. It said you guys were doing some construction on it, so I couldn't really get any deets. So what do we got here, man?
Yeah, man. So Major League University, what we're creating is an online baseball platform focusing on the mental side of the game. So we want to really bring light to the mental side, help athletes develop that tool because we believe majority of the game is mental. And if you can develop a mental toolkit to help you get through those times of struggle, through those slumps, and through the good times where you're on a high and you can't get out, or you can't not get somebody out on the mound, we want to help you really develop these tools to stay consistent in your game, which we believe can help you not only in your career but in your life. So that's what we're doing, man. We're working on it. We should be having the site up here in a couple of weeks, I'm hoping, but some good things take time. You've got to make sure we get all the kinks out and do it the right way, and we want the right people in with us and really helping the community, man. And it's been so much amazing feedback so far, and we haven't even released the site, so we're super.
Oh, you
excited,
haven't even released it yet?
No, we haven't really. We haven't sold or offered any services yet, which is the crazy part. So we've been just trying to build it up and get the site running and squared away to where we can release it and get going and start helping these athletes.
So when you say we, I'm assuming that means a team, a partner, who's all involved?
Yeah, man. So it's myself, QB Meyer. He played at the University of Nevada with me, and then played with the Tampa Bay Rays for a few years. Mm-hmm. And then he was actually in Indy Ball last year in the Frontier League as well. And then Jensen Park, he's from Hawaii. They're both from Hawaii, which is awesome. My boys, man. I love it.
That's dope.
And so he played with the Rockies for a few years. We actually played against each other with each other in the All-Star game in 2015. So first year pro ball, played together, and he was friends with QB. And I kind of knew him through QB as well, so we all connected and decided, hey, let's get this thing moving. Let's go. Let's start impacting some people. So
take me through the services, man. What is it going to entail? Because I know, a lot of my listeners are probably super intrigued right now.
Yeah, man. So the first part, we're going to have a little drill library, just a basic subscription deal, a monthly subscription where you can come in. And we're starting off with hitting and mental side of the game drills and expanding to defense, to catching, to pitching, the whole aspect. We want to have nutrition on there, weight training eventually, and everything that you can think of, like a one-stop shop online for baseball tools from guys who've done it. So the thing that kind of is unique about us and separates us, I feel, from most of our quote-unquote competition, even though I don't want to say competition because I respect what other guys are doing, but something that separates us is all of our guys are pro guys. So me and my two boys, the founders, do some one-on-one coaching as well to provide an outlet for professional athletes as well to make a little bit of an income to supplement what they're doing through the season. So we're hoping that it can help them as well. But basically, it's professional baseball players, man, giving back and offering one-on-one coaching, one-on-one mentorship, and in a drill library that's set up to help you succeed as an athlete and maximize your potential.
Dude, I love that, man.
I love it, man. I'm super excited. We want to expand to the peak performance side eventually, so that's kind of what we're doing at Puget Sound as a tester to see how it goes and get some feedback on that, and maybe eventually move into maybe professional teams, college teams, go do some peak performance, and we're working on some course for the future. But in the meantime, man, one-on-one coaching and some drill library, focusing on the mental side of the game, really helping give these guys those necessary tools to maximize their performance.
Love it, man. So for the listeners, you guys can go check out Austin on Instagram at Austin Byler. It's Byler, right? I didn't butcher that?
Yes, Byler. You are right.
So just looking at your Instagram, man, inquiries. So can people contact you if they want a consultation, or what is it? What services do you personally provide?
Yeah, man. So anything from consultations, just a question. If you have any questions about the recruiting process, about baseball, about life, about whatever it may be, your swing, I don't care, man. Shoot it to me. I'm open. I'll respond. I'm here to help. So anything from that side of the game, from the baseball side, to speaking inquiries, man. I love to go speak to athletes. I do a lot through the FCA group, so Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Okay.
And I do some speaking events to them, but I love going to just travel ball organizations or college teams or maybe just your travel team or whatever it might be, and just speak some light, shine some light, motivate them, and give them something that they can – give them a tool that they can take with them to help their game.
No doubt, man. Well, I had I said your Instagram account, but let my audience know where they can find you on all your social media platforms. If you want to throw your email out there for inquiries, you can go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, man. So basically, Austin Byler on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, all the above. I got it. Just my name. And then for Major League University for Instagram. So that's just Major League University.
Oh, so it has an Instagram account?
Yes. So our Instagram's just at Major League University. So you can check us out. We do a lot of daily content, Tim. We do a lot of the videos, a lot like what you're doing, man. And I love what you're doing. It fires me up. So we're really really excited about it, man. You can email me, byler.austin@gmail.com. I will answer. I will get back to you. So don't hesitate. And yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Dope, man. Well, try not to text and drive, and try not to, take any email consultations while you're driving up there. But I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Enjoy the rest of your trip. Is the weather good there at least? Is it sunny or is it still raining?
It's 56 and sunny currently, but I'm looking at a mountain with a bunch of snow. So we'll see what we got coming here in the near future. But hey, you never know what's in front of you, but let's make the most of it, man.
Dope,
I appreciate you having me on, Robby. Thank you so much, man.
All right, dudes. Well, I know probably not a lot of you listen to the very end of my show, but I'm going to challenge you. For those of you who do listen to the end of the show, I have a challenge. Go to your podcast app. You're on your podcast app. You're listening to my show. When I'm done speaking, go to your podcast app. If it's Apple Podcast, go to the bottom right where it says search. You'll click that search bar. You'll type in The Robby Row Show. Hit search. My show will come up. Click it. And then you'll see recent episodes, ratings, 2018, 2019. You scroll down, and then you'll see it, ratings and reviews. Well, you have an option to click amount of stars. I encourage you to click 5, but it doesn't matter. It does matter. I lied. Go ahead and give me a review. Click the stars. Scroll down a little bit more. You'll see a tab that says write a review. I would highly, highly appreciate if you could leave me a positive review. The reason being is that the reviews go into an algorithm that the more you get, the more written reviews you get, it increases the show's awareness to other people that listen to podcasts. So the whole foundation for why this started was to supply the individuals that seek out quality content, quality information, knowledge, just to supply them with as much as I can provide. So by you leaving me a review, you could potentially have someone see my show that maybe wouldn't have seen it, and then therefore get some information, a guest, maybe from me. Doesn't matter. If they get the information, they utilize it, then they can be a better individual. So I challenge you guys with that. I appreciate you if you do. If you want, go ahead and screenshot that you did it. Send it in my Instagram DM, and I'll share it on my story. So appreciate y'all. Love y'all. God bless. Enjoy the rest of your day.